Hey guys, today we're out in Port Macquarie and we're going to be asking the public a couple of questions, and the main one is going to be, who do they think God is? There's a lot of thought out in the media, in the music, in TVs, and we just want to see what people actually think.
I have absolutely no idea. I've never known.
He's the creator of the earth.
I don't see God as an individual.
The creator of the world, someone special, a very special person who made the earth.
God of the Bible? I don't believe there's really a God in the Bible.
Well, being from New Zealand, I have a lot of Māori gods.
Oh. It's hard to say because no one's gonna know.
I believe that God is the creator of this world.
God to me is everything, you know. You got to respect God, got to agree to God's rules, and you got to do all of that. Otherwise, you're not going to have a happy life, you know. And so far, I've been following God's rules and I've been doing what God says, and so far I've been having a good life, so no reason to stop that.
I really love nature and outdoors, so looking out here at this beautiful spot, I believe that He's the guy that's created all of that. And I believe that Jesus is His Son, who is also fully God, and that He lived a life that was very countercultural, that He's someone that encouraged us to love and to forgive others.
I just think there's too many questions with religion in general. I was brought up as a religious person. I'm very conscious of the Bible, what goes in it, but I'm not quite a believer now.
My family and I are Catholic, and I was raised Catholic, so I think God is quite a strong presence in our family structure and our upbringing. And the way I feel about God is as a presence in everything around us rather than an individual person.
Right, so he's not as personal, he's not a personal God, he's more of a force.
That's a good way of putting it.
So would you say that your family has shaped this view of who you think God is?
Yeah, undoubtedly.
I grew up in an atheist household, so never really been taught about God.
We were both raised sort of Roman Catholic in a way, but I think it's also kind of taking what you've been taught and then living your life in a way that goes by the guidelines but also feels right with you, so that you're treating others how you would want to be treated.
I think today you're not allowed to have, especially being a Christian and a lot of other beliefs, you're not allowed to have a belief. It's almost like you can't believe in something different to someone else and still get along.
Yeah, so it's too offensive almost.
Yeah, exactly. So if you believe in something different than me, then we can't be friends. But I don't think that at all is what God's created us to be. He's created us for relationship. Yeah.
Would you say that your worldview was shaped by what you were raised in?
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, it has an impact on what we think of things.
Yep. And is it one that you want to carry on for the rest of your life?
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah.
What makes you want to carry that on?
Well, I think it's just sharing your opinion on the world with other people, and it's a good message to give to other people.
I don't know what I believe, to be honest. I'm stuck in the middle.
And what has brought you to this conclusion in life that God is real?
I've always grown up to believe in God. My family is Catholic, and I've learned it all through religion at school, and so I just practice my faith.
Many nasty things have been happening with priests in religion and such. So I think a lot of these people, these priests, have been given Christianity a bad name.
So you'd say a bit of the hypocrisy that you can see in the worldwide.
Yes, it could be. Yes, yeah. I guess you can blame the media. It's just, I think, bad news makes news. Too many negative views, not enough positive views in the world.
Has anything in your life convicted you, or any events that have happened that made you believe that God is real?
Well, I'm here, so honestly, that's good enough for me to believe in God, you know. If I wasn't here, then I wouldn't believe in God.
And that goes both ways too. If you say you don't believe in God, I think it's important for those people to understand that the people who do have those beliefs
And strong beliefs,
right,
why it's important.
They don't really have a right to stand in their way either, if it's not hurting them, you know. Yeah.
Do you have any events that come to mind that God has helped you out in your life specifically?
I think when I lost my pop, I think he helped me get through that, because that was a very difficult time for my family, and he gave me the strength to not give up and push through and keep going for my family.
What has made you stick with your belief in God through just growing up and with so many other ideas out there?
Yeah, good question. Man, to be honest, sometimes it's really convicted. I'm really convicted with, I guess, how I live my life, in the sense that it is so easy to just look at other things and go, oh man, that looks pretty cool. I think the thing that's kept me solid in my faith is truly the freedom that comes with the only perspective that matters on my life is God's perspective on me. So ultimately, I'd love to be your mate, but if you think I'm this or that, it doesn't actually change my identity. It doesn't actually impact my self-esteem. And so knowing that there's a God who created me exactly how I'm meant to be, looking exactly how I'm meant to be, and seeing me as his child means no matter what other people think of me, no matter what life dishes out to me, that I still know I'm secure because I've got this dad who can look after me. It's been the most freeing but challenging thing is my Christian faith, especially in this world where it's getting harder and harder, like I said, to have differing beliefs and still function in society.
So I guess the biggest thing that we see here is that God is so different to each and every single person. No one has the same response. God is so personal. He's a personal God, a God who heals the brokenhearted, who binds up their wounds. That shows something that's intimate. That's like a friend.
Yeah, and I guess like with the interviews, seeing the different perspectives, and majority of people did have an opinion about who God was, and I guess just seeing that overall the perception of God in at least what we saw was pretty positive.
Definitely.
Like, would you say that?
Definitely. Yeah. As opposed to what the media actually portrays, and what people think is vastly different.
There's so much movies and so many games and just music where, you know, God's seen as this like tyrant. He's seen as this authority figure who just wants to smite you and take you out. And not one of those people that we asked actually had that opinion.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
And we were talking about this, and we were so shocked about that because we went into the video expecting that people would say, oh, you know, the God of the Bible is he's a bit of a tyrant. He's not a personal God. He's not loving. But I didn't get that.
It was really the opposite.
Yeah.
And the people who didn't know about God was just that they didn't know. They weren't taught, or they hadn't looked into it.
Yeah, and that's another area that people just don't know. There's so many like theological logic arguments, like evolution or creation, all these debates that you can have on does God exist, is he real? But as Josh was saying, he's such a personal God, and for me that's like really who he is. He's that person that's helped me in those times that we've been down, and that those times that I've needed help. And I can't look back at a time in my life where he wasn't there for us. Well, for me.
And I think in setting up for this video, when I was searching on throughout the Bible and trying to find who God is, the biggest thing that I saw was that repeatedly throughout the Bible, it was saying, God is with you. God is with you. God is with you. Throughout the entirety of the Bible. And that's the biggest thing that we lose sight of. We see God is so far out there that he's impossible to be close to me. But we're constantly reminded of that.
And that's actually really interesting because I talked to Josh about this, and we were saying that in the Old Testament there's actually more reminders that God's with you than in the New, right?
Definitely.
And we were saying that like in today's age, so many people think that the God of the Old Testament is just so impersonal. But here you have this picture of God in the Old Testament saying, I'm with you, I am with you, I'm always with you. And that's just so like different to what a lot of people...
So different.
Yeah.
So different. And so many people say that the Old Testament's done away with. And we're only looking at the New Testament, yet we're not getting the entire image of who God is and what he wants to do for us. He wants to be with us.
He created us, he created me, and he created Josh, and in that it's so intimate. And people look at that as this authoritarian act of creation, but to me it's more like he's so intimate. He was there kneeling down in the dust and forming us with his hands, and he breathed life into us. And to me, that just shows how much he loves us. And this is Jesus himself. It's Jesus that made us, and he knelt down and he just, he made me. And that's for me the biggest like indication of who he is. He's the creator. He's worthy of my praise. He's worthy of me following him because he made us.
And we see that in people's views who, we stopped on the street, that a lot of them said that he is the creator. And I think the awesome thing is that when we read through the Bible and see that God didn't only just create in Genesis, he's constantly creating. And the beautiful thing about that is that if I don't see the life that I want, I can have faith that if God is still creating, he can create a life for me that is better than the one that I have.
Yeah, that's so true. The same words that that God and Jesus spoke to create this world and bring it into existence is in the Bible. And by those same words, he's gonna, exactly what you were saying, create a new life in us.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool.
That's powerful, man.
Yeah, it is. So from that, God is the creator, but not only of the natural world, but of our life. But not even just us being physically here, but of us spiritually and our emotional well-being. Because if you just have this shallow faith that God is the creator, but you're empty, what does it matter?
Meaningless.
It means nothing, right?
Yeah. And I think we saw a lot of the times that when people had a bad image of who God is, was that it was something that people did to them in their past. And that marred the image of who God is. And they stopped looking at God and they started looking at people. And that's the bad thing, that one guy says that, look at what the priests are doing. How can they do this in the name of God? And that's true. Christians have a bad rap now because they're calling themselves Christians, yet not doing the things that Christians should be doing.
Yeah, and that's so true. It looks like we're just hypocrites, and it looks like the God of the Bible is mean. Because if his followers are doing these things, then it should be okay, right?
Yeah.
So if you can't blame the hypocrisy in the church or just by people of faith on God, then where did those things arise from? You know what I mean? Like, why are these people of God doing such erroneous, like, terrible acts?
And we can get the wrong image of who God is when we see the people who call themselves Christians doing things that are not Christ-like.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because if you look at Pew researchers asking young people in the church, just in every denomination, why they leave, it is because of hypocrisy. They see that the people who are in churches aren't reflecting God's character. They're not nice, they're not loving. And then they think, okay, if that's who God is, then I don't want anything to do with that.
And I wouldn't want anything to do with him either.
Exactly, I wouldn't either. Yeah. That's why so many of us leave. We just see these things and we just say, oh, well, obviously Christianity can't help anyone.
Yeah.
Let's get out.
Yeah.
And you were saying that God never leaves you, but through our earthly experiences, people leave us, and then we like put that onto God, and we say, well, if you're with me always, then why did this happen? Or why did they leave me? And
it's easy to look at my bad relationships in my life and attribute that to God.
Yeah.
Even when I say love, love to you means something completely different than what love means to me and what love means to you. And that's the sucky thing, is that our life experiences, if we're not careful, can change the image of who God is.
I didn't see him working so intimately with me, so I was just like...
And you didn't think he cared?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think he cared.
Why would God care about me and what I'm going through? If someone does something wrong to me, if I screw up, why would the God of the universe care about
me?
Yeah,
and it's so hard to have faith in that.
And I think that's the biggest thing. We have to understand that God actually does care. He cares about everything that we go through. And because he is love, like what the Bible says, then he can't not care.
That's true.
He's not allowed to not care. Which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, by default and by who he is, he will love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he did make us. The hardest thing to do is to have faith. To have faith that there is a God. That he did create everything that we know and see.
We shouldn't rely on feelings. I will never leave you. And when you feel like, well, he's gone, do we then say, okay, he's gone because our feelings say like, oh, he's gone? Or do we just say, no, Lord, I know that you're with me, even though I don't feel like it. I know that you're good and you're here. And that for me is like the biggest thing. When I don't feel like God's by my side, I just need to have faith that he is. You know, I heard this saying once where it was like, at the times you may feel that God is the closest to you, he may be the furthest away. And the times where you feel like he's furthest away is the times when he's closest to you.
Yeah. We can get lost in feeling so far from God or even far from people. And that's why there is a Bible. That's why God has given us something that doesn't change. Something that we can go back to and have a look and see, okay, God does care for me. I will never leave you or forsake you.
Yeah.
That's hard to believe.
It's so hard.
Because how many people have deserted us in our lives?
And I think there was another guy that in the interview said that he doesn't believe that God is a personal God, but he more believes that he's a force. And I think that kind of thinking will lead you very very lonely.
Very lonely.
Very lonely and very emotionally unstable.
Yeah.
Because the God of the Bible, as we've been talking about, is so intimate in everything that we do. So if we just say that, oh, he's just a force, he's not really with us, then how would that really have any impact on our life?
It wouldn't.
It wouldn't, right?
And that means God doesn't care. Because if God just created us and isn't intimate with us, then why did he create us?
Yeah, exactly. But I think subconsciously, a lot of us do believe what that guy believes. We feel that God's just a force. He's just this presence that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But I need to tell myself this. But we just need to have faith in God, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think the hardest thing sometimes is to admit that you don't know anything.
That's true.
And that is the starting point. To be like, okay, I don't actually know anything about where I've come from, where this world has come from, why are we here? Where are we going? What's the reason to all this? And to start there.
The fundamental starting point is from nothing. And if we're so like sure in our own belief, even if we are Christian, how can we ever have that honest faith for ourselves? Or even just getting answers. Yeah, I think that's really true.
And if you are a Christian and you've just been brought up that way, then why is it that you believe in God? Why is it that you believe in what you do?
Yeah.
Is it just because you've been brought up that way? Or have you actually looked into it yourself? Because it might be false.
Yeah, it could be. We could be wrong.
We could be wrong.
It's so true. And it's that fundamental of just like, hey, I'm not the center of the world. I don't know everything.
Yeah.
I need to just maybe look for answers somewhere. And a lot of us don't do that.
And I think that's the biggest reason why we're starting this channel, is to help you guys just figure all this out. To show you our journey as well, and what we've gone through, and where we're going.
And we're gonna really try and take a stance for just honesty and openness, and try and discuss some issues, just really no script, no nothing, just what we think. So we can kind of relate to maybe where some of you guys are at. Awesome. We want to hear what you guys think. That's the biggest reason why we started this, hey?
First one down. Done.